All right, there we go. We are live. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. My name is Chris. This is my YouTube channel, We Love Comics. I hope you are all doing well. Hope you are all safe, and hopefully hanging in there, considering most of us are having stay-at-home orders, and you're probably like me, a little bit bored at this point, wishing you could go back to work. Hopefully some of you still are working, and I just want to say be safe out there. So I started noticing a trend, and I'm going to wait for a couple of people to see that this is live, because unfortunately these days, I've seen it with many channels, YouTube is basically shadow banning all small channels. So if you're a small channel and you subscribe to them, you're probably not going to get notifications. So even if you've hit the notification bell, a lot of people's notification bells are shut off, or they just don't get them. So make sure you check people's channels, because YouTube wants to turn this into the next, mainstream TV, and they're trying to get rid of anybody that has a voice. So if you could like and share my videos, or anybody's you're subscribed to, make sure you check the channels of all of your subscribers periodically. So this way you will be able to see the people that you like's videos, even if YouTube is not going to promote them, because they're hiding everybody. And I also, while I'm waiting for people to come in, I always want to remind people that I do have the cashback program, so please check that out. The link I just posted in the live chat. It's also going to be in the description of this and every video. Horror Breakdown is here. I just want to mention, because I actually promised him I would do this and I totally forgot. So Horror Breakdown, welcome. He has a website. It's called budgetcomics.com. It's all one word, budgetcomics.com. He asked me if I could promote that for him, and I forgot about it, so I wanted to make sure you do that. So Horror Breakdown, if you want to write that link in here in the live chat, you're more than welcome to, because I don't mind helping people out, because if it helps the community, especially these days, we all need to work together. So check out the links that I posted. I'm also still selling my comics. If you haven't seen the video I made a couple of days ago, please check it out. I have every comic except for 2. Wolverine #1 has been sold, and Marvel Spotlight #5 has been sold. You can contact me at peacefulfeelings@yahoo.com if you're interested in purchasing any of them, and I might do another video with others that I am going to be selling. But you can also check the link to my web store. There's plenty of comics that were comics that I was selling at the flea market, and obviously with the flea market shut down, I had to sell them some way. So I don't have to at this point. Chris, do you have a Tomb of Dracula 10 for sale? I do. Contact me at peacefulfeelings@yahoo.com. I have a graded, I think it's either a 6.0 or a 6.5. That's one of the books that I was selling at the flea market. I don't think it's on the web store. I think that was a new one I added. So if you contact me, Peter, on that, after this video, I'll contact you. Domestic shipping for any of the comics is $14.99. I package really well. You will be guaranteed you'll get it safe. And that's for domestic only. So if you are outside the continental U.S., please let me know, because it costs a lot of money for me to ship it outside the country. So with that being said, I want to talk about what I've been seeing as a trend. And that's the whole purpose of this video. As you could see right here on the title screen, comic values are falling. Should we be concerned? I'm not going to make this a very long video as far as that is concerned, because I want people... See, this is the thing I've noticed about any kind of situation in the world, because 99% of the population doesn't plan ahead about anything, and they tend to focus just on the moment instead of the future of what could potentially happen. Now, obviously, in an infinite universe, anything can happen, so things can always change, but you still want to plan ahead for things. And I've been one of those people since probably 2011. Even actually before that, I'd say since about 2006, I've been planning for any kind of situations. That's why even in times like this, where I've been out of work for 2.5 weeks now, and will be out for the whole month, because all my jobs, I worked at bars and I worked at the flea market. But if you ever went to my website, you could see I even sell these things like you see right here, these pyramids. They're called organ pyramids. I make these. I've actually been able to sell a bunch of these lately. I have all custom-made ones that I make. If you don't know about Orgon Energy, look it up. That's what inspired me to name one of my cats Orgon. So now you know the origin of that. But I've actually been able to maintain a business working at home and being here in Florida. The sun shines a lot more, so I'm actually able to make them all year round. So I've actually been able to stay afloat. But I haven't needed toilet paper, I haven't needed water because I prepare for things. And I plan ahead and I look further than what's happening at the moment. So there is a method to my madness when I'm talking about this stuff. Because right now, prices of comics are falling. Now, the main reason is because of the situation, and we can't say the word because if you say anything, YouTube will flag the video. But you all know what I'm talking about. People don't have money to be able to spend. Now, that doesn't mean everybody. And this is why if you have any thought in your brain and any ideas where you could make money by selling things, don't assume because maybe 75% of the population doesn't have work, that doesn't mean that everybody does not have money to spend. I mean, my pyramids range anywhere from $60 up to $1,000. And I've sold a couple of them just this week alone. So you don't ever assume that even if you're in a bad situation, that it means that's going to be that way for everybody. But most people right now, they're worried about paying their bills. They're worried about food, water, their family, which is totally understandable. But most people are not going to be buying things like comic books at this point. And that's why I said a couple of videos ago that you're going to start seeing buying opportunities that you will not see in a very long time because of this situation. And I actually have some comics coming because I've been able to sell some of these things, and my wife still has her job. You know, thank God for that. She's been paying the bills and everything and allowing me with what little money I make to keep investing in the comic book so I can keep that business going for the future. I've been able to find some deals that are amazing at this point, and I can't wait to show them to you. So right now, some people, and like I said in the video, I trust me when I say I know what I'm talking about when it comes to these things. Prices are going to get low, but that does not mean they're going to stay that way. And if you know anything about investing, now obviously if you're buying comics just to read them, I mean, hey, you know, how is it not better to get cheaper prices? But when it comes to investing in anything, it's buy low and sell high. So when situations happen where people are forced to sell things and prices go down, most people panic and say, oh, I better sell my stuff before it gets too low. No, you should be thinking the opposite, because most people buy high and sell low. I mean, how many times have I made videos where I tell people to buy a book when nobody cares about it, nobody's talking about it, because I see the potential and where it's going? Most people will not buy it, even though it's super cheap. When do they buy it? When all of a sudden there's a movie announcement, or there's a rumor of a movie announcement, or all of a sudden a couple years later they're very popular and the price is going up and up and up. Like, for example, my Ultimate Fallout 4. If you've been following my channel for the longest time, even my original We Love Comics channel that I shut down, back in 2016, I was telling people to buy every Ultimate Fallout 4 you could get your hands on. And at that time, it was about $10 to $12 for that book. Most people didn't care. Most people said, oh, well, it's cheap. I'll get it, you know, sometime in the future. When did most people start buying it? When it started hitting $75 to $100 range. So you're spending about 10 times more for the book when you could have bought it years ago. And most people's excuse is, well, you know, it's going to be a long time since that, you know, until that book is worth something. Well, whether you bought it then at $10 or bought it now at $100, you still had to wait. Peter just sent a super chat, so I want to thank you for that. Anytime anybody does a super chat, I want to acknowledge them. So it says, Chris, Bronze Age X-Men keys to get before MCU. I have videos on that, and I don't want to really talk about that here, but check out my other videos that I've talked about of books to get. But obviously any key X-Men book is going to be easy to get. And Millbot PGX is still open. Unless they tell me otherwise, they are still grading comics. It's just going to be delayed, obviously, so don't expect your books back really quick. But they are still open, and I actually mentioned that in another video. So they are still grading the books. It's just going to take, obviously, longer. So thank you for that question. So my point is, right now, most people do the opposite of what you're supposed to do when it comes to investing. And they're getting scared. And some people, unfortunately, because they don't prepare for things other than what they're handling at the moment, end up losing their ability to pay their bills. Now, like I said, I'm a DJ, so all the bars are closed and have been closed. I had my business, as you could see in the screen, because I'm keeping that going, because eventually it will open again. I was in the flea market. That shut down. So I technically had no business for the past 2 weeks, and it's going to be at least until the end of April, unless they extend it again. We have a stay-at-home order. But yet I'm still able to get money. That's why I sold some of my comics, and that's one of the reasons why I tell people, get multiple comics if you can, of key issues. Because then, if you have to sell them, or you want to trade them, or whatever, you can do that and still own them. And that's one of the benefits of having key issue comics. I understand there are plenty of people that buy comics just to read them, and there's nothing wrong with that. But if there's ever a crisis, you're not going to be able to sell, Raggedy Ann and Andy number 64. Nobody cares about it, and no one's going to buy it. So, I have a channel that talks mostly about the investment part. Of course, I love my comics. I love the covers of comics. When I was a kid, I used to love reading the comics. Nowadays, I don't really get into the newer comics because they're too, PC, and they're too much agenda-driven. And I've read all the major comics that I've always loved, so now I'm more, especially in my older age, I'm going to be 50 in November, I'm more worried about my future. And that's how I'm able to maintain. But here's the thing. Right now, prices are dropping in comics. That, to me, as a business person that thinks well ahead, that is what I consider a buying opportunity. So now's the time to quit smoking, to quit drinking, to waste your money on frivolous things if you have extra income. This is the time you should be stocking up on potential investments, because these prices are not going to stay this low. Right now, they're postponing the movies. They're postponing any of the trailers. So it's not creating a buzz. And the media wants you scared to death, thinking everybody's going to drop dead if you sneeze. I'm not saying it's not a bad situation, but the media tends to overblow things to a point where it scares people and people panic instead of thinking. And that's why I'm saying, even in my situation, losing both of my jobs, all of my income, I'm still selling and making my Orgone pyramids. Whether you understand them or like them or agree with them, that's up to you. I'm not here to try and sell you something you may not be interested in. But I'm also not putting a gun to people's head either. People buy these because they understand them and they want them. So I'm able to maintain my income. When I was at the flea market, I came up with an idea, because I always make sure I think about things. I started doing payment plans for larger comics. And a person is doing that. They bought, and it was actually a week before everything got shut down, my Batman 100. I think we agreed on a $2,500 price. And he's paying me, he's actually mailing me checks now, but he was paying me cash, of about $120 to $200 a week. So I'm able to get income. So the one thing I want to tell you is, if you're like me and you're out of work, don't feel sorry for yourself. Don't feel woe is me. Don't feel like I can't do anything. Use your brain. Come up with ways. The internet is here. The postal service is your best friend. You can do things. Don't limit yourself to thinking you can't, because then you won't. So what I'm saying is, even though with this situation, and obviously I couldn't do it without the help of my wife, so, without her, I would not be able to invest in a couple of comics. But this is a buying opportunity. Because trust me when I say, when things get back to normal, and normal is probably not going to be at the minimum until the end of this year, if not the beginning of next year. Because even if tomorrow they have everybody go back to work, all of the things that have happened already are going to create a trickle-down effect. So it's going to get worse before it gets better. So people don't understand what's going on. Most people are sitting behind their TVs, watching the news, just waiting for every bit of negative information, feeling sorry for yourselves. And most people start to panic, and they overreact, and they believe every single thing they hear on the television, and they panic sell. And then all of a sudden prices start going down because now people are flooding the market with all types of things. When there's a supply that's in excess, prices tend to go down. And especially in a time like this where some people out there just feel like they cannot find work, and that just means to me they're not using their God-given gift of a brain to think of ways to be successful and to be able to survive past hoping, tomorrow can I get my paycheck. People are starting to sell things, and it's going to happen more and more in the next few months because people's savings are going to run out because most people live for today. They don't plan for tomorrow. And that's why with these comics, like even you could see, and you've seen the videos, I have a whole bunch of comics here that I've gotten, some of them almost a year old, still in the boxes. Why did I do that? Because I knew there would be times where situations would occur where I could not buy comics for whatever reason, and I wanted to make sure I had content to be able to make future videos. At the time, there would probably people to think, oh, that's crazy. But yet, I'm still now be able to maintain several videos because I plan ahead. And I want people to think instead of reacting. And unfortunately, most people in this world are reactors. They're people who don't plan ahead, they don't think, they don't research, they just do what everybody else tells them to do and follows what everybody else does. And you better hitch your horse to the right wagon if you're going to do that. And if I can teach anything on my channel, it's individual thoughts, is to trust your guts, trust your feelings. I'll show you something that's interesting that involves the situation that we're in right now, because I was showing this to my wife yesterday. In the state of Florida, there are a total, in our county, and it's one of the, I think the fourth biggest county in Florida, there were 100 people roughly that have gone on to better things, if you know what I mean, moving on to bigger pastures. I'm not going to say the word because YouTube will flag me. Sounds like a lot. There are 17 million people in the state of Florida. To put it in perspective, in 2017, over 430 people were bitten by an alligator. So you were 4 times more likely to be bitten by an alligator than to have the ultimate situation happen as of now with what's going on. And again, hopefully I don't have to explain it because again, YouTube will flag a video if you talk about it. But you're smart enough to understand what I'm saying. Again, I'm not saying that can't, I'm not going to say that can't change, and I'm not saying it's great, but it's not as bad as everybody makes people think it's going to be. And most people tend to panic, and they follow what everybody else does. And that's why I've said on several occasions, for the longest time, people were told, and the world believed the world was flat. How's that working out? The masses don't necessarily know what they're talking about. They just regurgitate what somebody else says. So when it comes to comic books, and that's why this is, I mean, I could talk about any investment. People right now are panicking. They don't prepare for the future. People like me who warned people, even on my other channel that I haven't made a video on in like 6 months, I was warning people back in 2011 about situations that can happen and how you want to prepare before a situation. And that's why I don't need water and I don't need toilet paper. And I'm not doing it to brag. I'm trying to get people to change their mindset. If you spend your whole life glued to a TV, waiting for somebody else to give you information, you better hope those people are right. And they're not benefiting themselves, because if you look at the situation, there are a lot of people that are taking advantage of the situations and making millions and millions and millions of dollars off of people's fear. Now, somebody could turn around and say, oh, well, you're making money selling your comic books. Well, I'm just selling my comic books. I'm not telling people if you don't buy them, you're going to, pass over. Or making people scared to think, oh my God, I better buy a comic book, otherwise bad things are happening. I'm just the person who says, here, I got some comic books, if I'm selling them if you want them. I'm not using fear to be able to take advantage of a situation just to earn money. To me, it's not ethical. And even like with these Oregon pyramids and stuff that I sell, I don't have a website that says, oh my God, if you want to survive any kind of electromagnetic radiation, you have to buy these. I don't do that. I just say, this is what crystals do. You can research the history of thousands of years of crystal energy. If you don't understand the crystals have energy at all, well, that's something I would highly research. But my point is, right now, comic books are going down, as far as I'm sure a lot of different collectibles. Most people are going to panic, and most people are going to say, oh my God, the prices are going lower than what I paid. I better sell them now before I lose everything. Not thinking that in maybe 6 months, maybe a year from now, those books will not only rebound, but they will continue to go up, because those movies will start happening once again. The wheel will start turning once again, and you will get a buying opportunity that you will not get to take advantage of probably for another decade, or unless, knock on wood, I hope it never happens, another situation arises. But I doubt something like this will ever happen again. This is literally a once-in-a-lifetime observation. My point is, don't be like everybody else. I'm saying be careful, be educated, be safe. If you go out right now, it's probably not best to have lots of people around you. It might be beneficial to wear gloves when you go out. It's not being paranoid, it's being precautious. There's a difference between being prepared and being paranoid. If you spend your whole life hiding in a closet, wondering what thing is going to kill you next, you're just surviving, you're not living. Right now, if you have extra funds, now I'm not saying to spend your rent money. I'm not saying to, sell your first child. What I'm saying is, if you have extra money and you are thinking about either selling a comic or buying a comic, right now is probably one of the best times in probably your lifetime that you will get to be able to buy key issue comics for very cheap. To put it in perspective, I won't tell you what it is. There's a book that I bought. It's a graded one that I've seen people selling for $1,000 to $1,500. I got it for less than $500. So there are deals out there. The idea is, don't be one of the people that panics. If you don't have a job, like I do not have a job right now, and here's the thing, I can't even collect on unemployment because I'm an independent contractor. And I actually tried to sign up for any kind of benefit, and I tried for 5.5 hours, could not get through on the computer, and by the time I finally got through and it got to the point where it said they would accept independent contractors, it wasn't listed there. I couldn't even go forward, and I said, you know what, the heck with it, I don't need it. Now, I'm no millionaire, and this situation is hurting me as well, but I always think of ways to be able to maintain. And that's what you have to do as well. Don't be a person that sits there feeling sorry for yourself. You cannot win a race you don't run. If you have the mindset of, oh, why should I bother going into a race because I'm just going to lose, and you don't race at all, guess what? You made that to be true. The prices that you are seeing that are falling right now is not because they're less valuable. It's not because they're not key issues. It's not because they're not desirable. It's because some people are desperate and they are selling everything that they own to pay the next bill. If you think that's a horrible way, that's fine. I'm not telling you, to have your own moral code. But what I'm saying is, don't be those other people. So prices will probably get lower at this point and probably stay that way, like I said, probably till the end of this year or the beginning of next year. But they will, once everything's back to quote-unquote normal, and you start seeing movie trailers coming out, and people are going back out, and people actually have income to start spending again, those prices will do a quick 180, and they will start going up again. Mark my words on this. Mark this video down. Put it in your favorite list. Write down a comment saying that I said this, to see if in about 6 months to a year from now, whether I've been proven right or wrong. I keep finding deals on eBay. I actually have to slow down because I want to make sure I have enough income. And like I said, if it wasn't for my wife, I wouldn't be able to do this, because right now she's paying the big bills. She's allowing me, with the little money I'm coming in, to keep investing in my business, because she's seen what it can do. Because if you guys have been following my channel, you know the reason I'm in Florida right now is because I bought this house using my comics as the ability to do that. So she sees that I can actually do right and know what I'm doing. But like I always say, it takes research. It takes investigation. It also takes instinct, heart, and trusting your gut. Planning ahead. Thinking, think of it like a chess player. Chess players are thinking 3, 4, 5 moves ahead so they can plan an attack that's coming at them and defend it or be on the attack. So be like a chess player. Don't think about the moment. Don't even think about the next moment. Think about the next 5 moments ahead and plan accordingly and have backup plans in case other situations happen. And then you will always succeed. And that's why even in my situation, and those of you who've been watching my channel know how much stuff I've gone through just in the past 6 months alone. Losing my house in New York, having to find a place to live, having to come up with about $30,000 where I had $29,900 of it not in existence, losing my jobs, losing one of my cats, almost losing another cat, almost dying in the hospital, losing my jobs. I have every right to be just as scared as most people, but I'm not. Because if you live in fear, you will be afraid to do anything. And that's including succeeding. And sometimes it feels good to have somebody feel sympathetic towards you and put an arm around your shoulder. And that's why some people do it. But if you ever want to succeed in life, you have to use your brain. You have to think of ideas. You have to not worry about everybody else telling you you can't or you shouldn't. One of the biggest things about me being stubborn is when people said, no one's ever done this before. In my mind, I would say, instead of saying, oh, well, no one else has done it, I might as well give up. I say, well, I guess I'll be the first. As far as comics are concerned, if you can find deals, and not only find deals, some of these deals that I've been making lately, they weren't best offer deals. They weren't even buy it now deals. I would contact people and say, hi, I see you're selling this book. I see you're selling at this price. If I made you an offer of such and such, will that allow me to get this home? I will pay for it right now so you don't have to wait. And not only do I make sure I say the right things, but I follow up with what I say. Not everybody agrees, but some have. And I've paid less than 50% off of what the current values are. You have to make things happen. And that's why when I'm selling my comics, if somebody tries to undercut me with a price, I don't need to sell it. When I sell my comics, I sell them at a certain price. Now, I sell them below what the value is. But if somebody's like, oh, you have a $100 comic, I'll give you $10 for it. Some people might say yes because they need the $10. Me, I'll just wait. Because I know even if prices go down now, it's temporary. I mean, look at the Great Depression. When stocks were here and they plummeted to here and all the way down, people were panic selling. There were more millionaires that came out of the Great Depression than any other time in U.S. history because the people that were selling at the top that caused the crash, you really should research it to learn what the real truth of that was. When it hit rock bottom, they were buying it back pennies on the dollar because they knew eventually what goes down will go up again. That's why we have not maintained a Great Depression since the 1920s. Things fluctuate. The idea is know when to sell when things are reaching a peak and know when to buy when things are going down. And most people do the opposite. The Dow Jones, for the longest time, people were saying, oh, you got to get into it. You got to invest in stock markets because, look, it's an all-time high. It's an all-time high. It's an all-time high. And now that it's crashing, they're not telling you to buy. They're making people scared and have to sell. Well, what does that do? Makes it continue to go down. And then eventually the smart people who research and know about patterns and algorithms and know how things can change in an instant start buying up at the bottom when everybody else panic sold and lost everything. Don't be one of those people. And Harvey, thank you for that. He says, use the downtime to give this video a thumbs up. So I'm going to do this right now. I'm going to do some question and answer. If anybody has any questions, what I want you to do is put the question in all capital letters like Harvey just did, so this way I can see it. So if you have any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer them to the best of my ability. Keep in mind, I am not a professional. I'm not an expert on, if you're going to talk about the current situation, I cannot talk specifics. So make sure you word what your questions are carefully. But again, write it in all capital letters. And also, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, because like I said, YouTube right now is totally ghost banning a lot of people's channels. So it's making it harder to watch my videos or anybody's videos. So make sure you check and see videos, because my videos have gone down in views. I have almost 9,000 subscribers. I'm averaging about 500 views right now. So either my stuff sucks or YouTube is keeping it from being seen. And many people said they don't get notifications anymore. Harvey says, Chris, still waiting for my book. Well, Harvey, keep in mind, you know, with the whole situation, mail is going to be slower, and plus you're out of state, you're out of the country. So I'm sure now when you're going into customs, there's going to be bigger delays. So you will absolutely get your book. You've gotten books from me before, so you know you'll get them. But obviously these are times where things are going to be a lot slower in the mail. Rob Worst. And again, if you want to ask a question, write it in all capital letters so I can see it. If anybody does a super chat and they want to ask a question, obviously I'll see that right away. But you don't have to do that, obviously. But Rob Worst says, what blue chip books should we be on the lookout for? Here's the thing. Any key book right now that is potentially looking upward. In other words, you don't want to be investing in books where there's a one-and-done character that's already happened. You want to invest in any kind of key X-Men, any Wolverine, any Deadpool, any Fantastic Four, any Doctor Doom, any Silver Surfer, the things that are still going to be on the rise. Right now, the Eternals book, a 9.8 a couple of months ago was up to about $1,200. Right now, it's showing on GoCollect.com, a 9.8 is now about $775. That is a perfect time to be getting that book, because in about a year and a half from now, that movie is going to come out. What do you think is going to happen? And they're going to be having a franchise out of that if the movie is successful. Now, obviously, anything can change. Get key books, but try and make deals. Try and wait for deals. Or if it's a book that's so hard to get, if all of a sudden somebody's selling it, even at the current market price. Let's say, for example, like Fantastic Four #5, first appearance of Doctor Doom. That is a book, even if you buy at current prices and it goes down a little bit, it's still a great book to acquire, especially if it's a hard book to buy. Sometimes you can't just wait for the deals, because sometimes maybe the comic that is very hard to find and hardly anybody's selling is all of a sudden putting it on the market, even at fair value. It's worth picking up, because books like Fantastic Four #5, first appearance of Doctor Doom, are as guaranteed as you can think of going up in value. So don't always think you have to get a deal. Sometimes it's a book that's too good to pass up, as long as they're not, like, for example, let's say the book that you want to buy at the whatever grade is worth $1,000. If you see somebody selling that book for $2,000, you don't really want to be buying that book, even though a couple years from now it might be worth it. But if it's selling at $1,000 and you can't get them to go any lower, it's still worth it, even at fair market value right now, because that book is going to go up. So if you're looking for investment opportunities, you want the books that are going to be on the rise. And right now, because of the situation that we're in, and because people can't go to the movie theaters, and movies are all being postponed and delayed, that's going to not create a buzz. People are going to start forgetting about it. Out of sight, out of mind. And that will mean there will be less people looking for items. There is a higher supply and less demand. So that is going to lower the price. But what's going to happen is that is going to reverse at one point, and there'll be less of the supply and a higher demand. So get the key issues. So thank you for that question. Ken Does Stuff. I like that name. What are the best places to get mystery comic boxes, or is it better not to buy mystery comic boxes? Well, I'm glad you asked, because I am one of the people that sells them. And if you watch a couple of videos of people that bought them, I mean, let's put it this way. If you're buying a $50 one, a cheap mystery box from anybody, you get what you pay for. Like, for example, I have mystery boxes up to $5,000. The $5,000 one, the book's average value is about $200 a piece, because there's 20 books in my mystery boxes. So they are quality stuff. One of the books that one of my subscribers got in the $5,000 mystery box was my Daredevil #1, graded. So it depends on who you're getting them from. Don't be afraid to ask questions. But if you're buying a $25 mystery box, don't expect a Daredevil #1 from anybody. So they can be good, and if anything, they can be fun. So on my website, I sell mystery boxes and also mystery bags, which, by the way, one of the mystery bags has an Ultimate Fallout 4 first print in the original bag in one of the bags. I don't know which one because I mix them up all the time. And as of now, nobody's found it. So there are always deals. But I can tell you, if you order from me, you're going to get some good books. But obviously, if you're buying the cheapest one, you know, like I write in it, it's going to be generic stuff. But sometimes that's good enough for a gift for a family. And you could turn around and sell them. If you're spending $100 and you're getting books that are worth more than your $100, it's worth it. But it depends on what you like. If you're not sure about mystery boxes, just get yourself what you like. So let me see. Tony Trombetta says, "Hi Chris, do you have any standards for low grade books? I know low grade is better than no grade, but I will not buy any book like rusted out staples or mold or really heavy water stains." I don't like mold either. Water stains can be pressed out, and it depends on the severity. To me, I don't mind as much. It depends on the book. Like, for example, if I was somehow able to get Action Comics #1, if 3/4 of the cover is gone or it's coverless, I don't care. It depends on the book. But if I had the choice of where damage would be, I'd rather it be along the spine. And when it comes to graded books, it doesn't really matter if the damage is in the inside of the book because you can't see it unless you crack it open. What I always say is, it's your own preference. Just because you have a different preference than somebody else does not make it wrong. So even if everybody else says you're crazy or stupid or over-exaggerating or you're being too picky, you're allowed to be. So go with your own instincts. And also it depends on the book. You know, if it's a book you don't really like, but you can make a lot of money on it, you can turn around and sell it. It's easier to sell a book you don't like than a book you do. So sometimes if you could, let's say you find a Daredevil #1. Let's say it's a 0.5 with rusty stables, water damage, and some mold. Let's say you bought it for $100. You could turn around and sell that for $300 and somebody would buy it. You'll make 300% of your money and you would easily give that up. So sometimes it actually is beneficial to buy books you don't like if they can get you investment purposes, because then you could turn around and sell them and you have no problem getting rid of them. But if you had a Daredevil #1 9.8 with white pages and everything was perfect, it'd be a lot harder to want to sell that book. So go with your preferences and always keep that in mind. So thank you. All right, Peter says, besides obvious X-Men keys like 1 in 94 and giant size, which X-Men would you be going for? Obviously the first 10 you can't go wrong with. Any first appearances you can't go wrong with. I would still go for X-Men 101. There's plenty of keys. I mean, obviously 266, first Gambit, things like that. But, I mean, it depends. If you're collecting a run, I would rather get more giant size X-Men #1s than some generic X-Men that really is not going to sell as well. I have plenty of X-Men books. So me, I would rather get duplicates, especially if I can find good deals for them. But again, it always boils down to personal preference. So go with what you like. And even if you buy 100 copies, if you could turn around and sell them all, well, you could buy a big book. You know, you might have a couple of giant size X-Men #1s, turn around and sell them and be able to afford an X-Men #1 or a Fantastic Four #1. So sometimes it pays to have that. But go based on what you think is good for you or what potentially could be good. All right, the Moni Gronies. I like these names. Black Terror #4, 1943, Alex Stromberg cover. There's a deal on eBay with a free OMAC Sandman for $325. Well, that's not really a question, but if anybody's interested in that book, there you go. That's actually a really good price for that. And again, these are prices you probably will not see again. Big thing, Harvey says, examine the books with magnification and see if you personally think what you personally think of your condition. That's key. When you buy a book, don't assume that people know what they're talking about. Don't assume that it's specifically what they said is in it. Because I actually had a book where I bought a Hulk 180 from somebody. I asked them, did it have a Marvel stamp in it? They said yes, and not only did they say yes, but they took a picture of it and showed me. When I got it, did not assume, well, they showed me pictures, so it must be in there. I checked to make sure, and lo and behold, it was not in there. So they took a false picture of a Marvel stamp and pretended it was in the book. Thank goodness I checked. So always check and make sure you are responsible for what you buy. And that's why I always tell people, make sure you know. If you don't know what a Marvel stamp is, you got to learn about it. And I have videos that teach people about what a Marvel stamp is. Knowledge is power. Make sure if you're buying it to read it, it doesn't matter. You don't have to know anything. But if you're buying, which a lot of people do, because if you watch my videos and you see the views, anytime I have a video on, oh, you should buy this book, or this is the book on the rise, those have 10 times more views than my book, like my videos like this, for example. But then again, this might be a little bit higher because I'm talking about prices, and a lot of people are concerned about that, and they have the right. But again, this is only going to be temporary. Once this situation that we're all going through right now ends, don't think all of a sudden the next day the prices are going to go up. You're going to have a delayed effect for anywhere from 6 months to a year, depending on how long the situation continues. There's going to be an after effect. So even like the jobs reports and stuff, you think they're low now, wait until the next quarter. There are many people that can't even get through on the phones or on the application on the computer. Trust me, like I said, I even tried it, even though I'm an independent contractor. After 5 hours of trying in 2 days straight, I just gave up and said it's not even worth it. So it's good to have extra copies of books, and it's awesome to buy books you don't like because you can easily sell them. You will easily get rid of a book you hate, and it's a lot harder for a book you love, especially if you only have one copy of it. So unless there's some other questions, I'm going to end the video right about now. Again, I'm going to share this link to my web store. Please, if you're interested in any of the comics, or if you want to contact me at peacefulfeelings@yahoo.com, I'll write that down here as well, because that is also my, here we go. That is also my PayPal address if you want to contact me there for any books that you've seen in videos. I mean, if somebody offers me a price of something that I can't turn down, I've sold books that I originally was not going to sell, because if anything, it helps to protect things. And Horror Breakdown says 1099 contractors can get unemployment now via the federal government, and they could backdate payments due. Yeah, I actually tried that, but they haven't changed the website, at least here in Florida, because at one point, after it took 5 hours to get to each section, because it would keep looping back to the beginning, literally hundreds of times, when it got to the point of your employment, there was nothing that said self-employed. So you couldn't get past that point because you had to put a job indication. And I'm not about to lie about and just mark anything and use that, because then you're committing fraud. Not about to do that. So, I mean, that can change, and who knows. But the point is, I'm not to the point where I even need it. I mean, yes, it would be nice to get the money to help, considering I have lost revenue. I mean, even though I'm making a little bit of money selling some comics and, you know, selling my pyramids, I also make organic soaps and things like that. I'm not desperate. And thank goodness for my wife, like I'll say repeatedly. So if you're interested in any of the books, please check them out. I will post the links. Please share them if you can. If you're kind enough to give it a thumbs up, please do, because like I said, YouTube is basically hiding all our smaller channels. They want YouTube to become the next CNN, the next MSNBC, the next Conan O'Brien. They want the big time stuff where people can be distracted instead of actually learning things that can help them. Check out some of my other videos. Go to my playlist so you could see tips and advice, because a lot of the comics I've been recommending over the years are still having room to grow. And with this situation, you could be like 90% of the people who are panicking and doing the wrong thing and doing the opposite of what you should do, or you could be one of the 10% or less that are being smart and taking advantage of these situations so they can prepare and help their future. So it's all about planning ahead. So if you're out of work like I am, it does not mean you're dead in the water. It does not mean you cannot come up with ideas. You are only as limited as your thinking capacity. If you give up, you guarantee failure. Like they say, when it comes to lotto, you got to be in it to win it. If you're in it, doesn't guarantee you'll win, but you have a better chance of winning than somebody that never plays. So think smart. Think about the future, not just tomorrow or next week. Countries plan 50 years ahead. Be smart. So Horror Breakdown just actually did a super chat, and once again, because he did write this, check out his website. It's budgetcomics.com, and nothing wrong with a plug. Anybody ever wants to do that, please do. So thank you for that, Horror Breakdown. Go check out his channel. Subscribe to mine if you haven't, and let's hear your comments, and just stay safe. Don't let fear ruin your life. Because there was a wise man, Ben Franklin, once said, and I'm not directly quoting, but he said, if you trade in liberty for security, you will get neither. So be safe, be prepared, but be smart. Thanks for listening, guys. I love you all. I hope you are safe. Be happy, because remember, with any bad situation, good things can come out of it. When you see a forest fire, it seems really bad. It can destroy a lot of things. But a lot of times it happens to clear the way for new things to grow and getting rid of the old. So always think about the future, about things, and be smart with your comics. If you can hold on to them, hold on to them. Don't sell because everybody else is selling and the prices are going down. If you don't have to sell them, just hold on to them. And those of you who have extra income and you're not using it to not pay your rent or things like that, your responsibilities, these are going to be some deals that you're going to see out there in the next couple of months that you probably will never see again. So take advantage of them if you can. And like I said, I'm not making any money off of your success. I'm not asking for anything. Like somebody like Horror Breakdown that did the super chat, it's never required, but it is always appreciated. Love you all. Let me do today's surprise subscriber shout out. I'm going to go a little far back and see if people are still paying attention. So if you're here, thank you. And even if you were here for a second, I still appreciate you. So Richard McDowell, you are today's surprise subscriber shout out. Hopefully you are still here. If not, you know, hey, hopefully somebody will send you the message. Give the shout out a shout out in the comments section. Please don't forget to hit the thumbs up, hit subscribe. Check out my channel periodically if you don't get any notifications, even if you've hit the notification bell. Tony Trombetta just did a super chat. Thank you. He says EGS is open and operational. That's great to know. So EGS is also open. So thank you for promoting that. And if you want to put the link in the comment section, you are more than welcome to. So that is my story. I'm sticking to it. Hopefully you enjoyed this. I hope you were staying safe. Be smart. Be safe. Love your family. Appreciate what you have. And don't forget, it is not you. It is not I. It is We Love Comics. Thanks for watching, everybody. I'll see you next video.